Welcome to the India Joy Influencer Con 2021.
Hey guys, welcome to yet another session of Influencer Con. Today we have Deepa Kiran, who's pretty known for a Hatke way of storytelling. She is the one who. Hey, we have Deepa back. Hey, Deepa, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. I was just engaging with the audience as to where are they, mostly, where are they creating content? So I think we have answers from Kavya Sharma. She's on Instagram. We have YouTube, but I think mostly Instagram and YouTube is where people are. So thanks a lot for joining in, Deepa. So maybe a quick intro from you, and then we'll get on to the Q&A.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you want me to tell about me?
Yeah, if you can tell our new friends who are watching this particular platform about you, so that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Hi, I'm Deepa Kiran, and I love telling stories, and that's what I do for a living. I narrate stories orally, and I'm based in Hyderabad, and work takes me across the country, across the world. I also work with the teaching community, educators, right from preschool to the university, on how teachers could become storytellers and offer learning possibilities through that for children, learning and development possibilities. Yes.
So, Deepa, how do you introduce stories seamlessly into presentations? How do you do that? Like, it's a two-stage process, right? When you have a thought process, you want to, you create a story or you read a story, and you have to do this background work where you have to present this, and you have a creative way of adding music in between. So, how do you do that seamlessly?
If I would say one, let's understand that there are two aspects. First of all, to using storytelling and communication, what I call storycation. Right? We offer our workshops as storycation, which is storytelling and communication. It really has two elements. Storytelling is about the story, and it's also about the telling, which means one is to know what is the content that you want to offer as a story, and two, what is the format of presentation of that story that you're going to choose, depending on your audience, depending on their age, depending on the context, depending on the theme. Accordingly, you will choose an appropriate presentation style, and you will choose an appropriate content. So let me be very specific with an example, right? Example of a story, which let's say is the context of diversity and inclusion, right? We know that what we really want is for the other person to be able to see multiplicity of worldviews, multiplicity of stories, and that's really what diversity and inclusion is about. Then let's understand what's our purpose. Our purpose is that when the other person sees multiplicity, they are able to appreciate that my story is not the only story. My story is not just the right story. And there are other stories, and the other stories are not necessarily the wrong stories, right? This is what the purpose is when we are trying to use storytelling for diversity and inclusion. So let me share a small story, right? This is actually an episode that happened with me when I was in Jhargram village in West Bengal. We became really close with the Santhali tribes whom we were documenting through film for a project. So the second day when we went there, they said, Kutumb aaya hai, that we are family. They welcomed us, and they gave their special home, the beverages that they prepared, and all of that happened. Then they gave us a snack. There was a palmful in my hand. I was about to eat it. And the interpreter said, Didi, aapko pata hai na, ye to upi hai. Upi? I said, ha, chinti. So, upi is basically winged ants, which is the wings are taken out and it's roasted as a snack and eaten. Okay? So I had a handful of that, and I had this wonderful community of Santhali tribals looking at me like, how is she going to enjoy this lovely food that we've given her? And I was a guest. I turned to my friend very quietly and said, I'm a vegetarian, right? And my friend was like, yeah, yeah. um, so at that point, right, what are the thoughts that are going on in my head? It could be like, what? Insects are food? Right? Who on earth eats food? Insects as food? Stories that could go on in my head is, okay, I didn't know that people eat insects as food. Let me try it. And another story could be, okay, people eat insects as food. Yes, it's a little different from my food story. Perhaps I'm not adventurous enough to try it today, right? These are the options that we have. I went back home and I researched and I found that 1/3 of the world's population eats insects, which is a lot of rural places in India. It is Southeast Asia. It is a lot of Asia. It is Central America, South America, all of these places. And the UN has declared insect as the food of the future because it is rich in protein, rich in minerals, and very, very easy to cultivate. It doesn't use up all the resources of the environment, right? So a story like this for me is a way to travel in our imagination and experience another's world which we otherwise may not ever experience. So really remember to use these. What I'm sharing with you is the possibilities, the potential of storytelling, and the impact of storytelling. Once you know this, you know what is the right story to choose and what is the right form of presentation to opt for. Because basically, through a story, you're allowing a person in their imagination to experience something that they otherwise may not have actually experienced. And because they experience it, only then they know what it feels like to be in that situation, to be in that problem, to be that person. So that's really how stories and their power works.
So I like the examples which you gave, because being a vegetarian, once you get into these statistics, it completely changes, the intention or the background behind
Yeah.
it. So we do have some lovely questions. So how do we plan a career as a content creator? This is a question by Satya Sirisha. So how do you, you're creating a content, you are creating content with respect to storytelling. How do you monetize that? So can you maybe share some of your examples with the audience so that most of the people who are joining here are people who are aspiring to be influencer, nano or micro influencers with thousands of followers on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, extra, etc. So how do they monetize that? That's one of the questions.
Right. So first of all, there's a lot of great work happening out there, right? I'm really inspired by many of you because you're all so tech savvy. We are the ones who have learned it, at least. Okay, by we, I mean me, not Ravi. Okay, I'm not counting anyone else. We've learned it along the way. Whatever you're doing, first and foremost, I think keep at it. And I can just speak for myself, right? I can't. I don't necessarily believe that it's different strokes for different folks. Yeah, that's my belief. Whatever works for you, right? So I'm talking about what works for me. What works for me is to really pursue my style of creating or sharing content. It has to resonate with me. It has to feel like I own this. It has to feel like, you know what, I want to share this with the world. And that's what's worked for me when I've been really, really true to myself, true to what is it that I wish to express at this point, which is the medium through which I wish to express at this point. That has worked for me. Second, keep at it. I think just continuing to do what you do, believing in that, Really, this sounds like I'm giving you more of a philosophical auntie uncle wala answer, but really that's how it's worked. Yeah, really that's how it's worked. I've been using stories, as oral narrative form. Some of you make blogs, somebody's vlogging, someone else is doing Instagram reels or YouTube shorts, but these are all forms of storytelling, right? You're all creating content of storytelling of different formats: written, visual, audio, podcasting, right? I've been with oral storytelling since 2010, and I've just been at it. I used to initially, I got a very good advice in my space, which was find other ways to make your money in the start. In the start, don't focus on this is my passion and this is where my money will come from. My money was coming from elsewhere, so I didn't have the pressure. I continued to enjoy storytelling for the joy of storytelling. And I don't know when I had to refuse other work. Like, I used to anchor events. I used to be a master of ceremonies. I had to start refusing that to event managers. I'm sorry, I don't have time. I have a storytelling assignment. I'm sorry, I have a teacher training for storytelling. So it just happened along the way that storytelling became the mainstay. The content that I want to create, that I want to share with the world, became my main focus area. So these are really my pieces of advice. Keep at it. Believe in what you're doing, and be honest, be authentic to yourself. Like when you look at that video, or when you look at that piece of writing, when you look at that reel, it should feel like, oh yeah, this is really Deepa, and this is what Deepa would like to share with the world. When that happens, magic happens. Yeah, at some point it happens. I traveled to more than 10 countries on invitations, and most of them were they just found out about me and contacted me, right? So I truly believe, just do it because you love it, and do it the way you'd like to do it, and yeah.
Super. So next question from Satya: how do we monetize from writing stories?
From writing stories, I haven't honestly really monetized much as yet, from printed stories. My In the professional space, I'm an oral storyteller, so I really am still in that space. If I have to give you an honest answer, what has happened in terms of monetization has been some very interesting brand collaborations. So I had this project with Century Mattress, which was called Sleep Time Stories. So we had this project called Sleep Time Stories. So it was with Century Mattress. So I actually sat on the mattress and I actually told nice, soft stories and played music accordingly like that, which was a really good win-win project for both of us. Perhaps. I don't know if that works for the written word also, is to identify communities which are in resonance with the topics or with the themes or with the target audience that you are writing for. If you could identify groups or communities or brands who are interested, whose interests are invested with that same, let's say, for example, is photography, right? So collaborating with perhaps Sony for a project, or with some photography festivals, right? Or some photography academies, whatever is your theme. I think that is a space where, if you don't want to like really heavily advertise and still make money, is what I'd say. Coming from my space of oral storytelling, this is my input.
Uh, Deepa, did you ever create fictional stories, or these, all the stories that you've been saying were from actual real events, like the earlier story you mentioned about eating insects?
Yeah, yeah. I have created, I have in fact written for the, currently children are studying my story. I'm not a fan of it being studied, but I'm proud of it because my story is in the Nagaland State Board English language textbook for class 11th and 12th students. So I've written a short story which is part of the textbook. Yes, I create. And Ravi, as you pointed out, yes, what I narrated now was a personal story, but I do a lot of retellings. And I really enjoy retelling a story because then I give it life in my own way. And yes, I hope to tell one short story if we have the time. Yes, of that
Are you
nature.
using any instruments? Are you using any
Yes, yes,
instruments?
I have them. I have them right here.
Yeah, yeah. Please use them. It's been a while that I've made a story.
Okay, okay. So,
So, yeah, audience, you would really enjoy that. So,
all right.
stay focused.
Would you like to hear a story now?
Yes.
Okay, so here it goes. Hmm. Come, come, listen, listen, everybody. Just for you, I have a story. Come, come, listen, listen, everybody. Just for you, I have a story. So this is a story of one little boy. It was festival time and he was really excited. Mama, Kartika Paurnami, every time you buy me new clothes, no, for Diwali also you didn't buy. Will you get me one new one? And she said, no, beta. What? No new clothes? No, beta. I said, I will not be able to get you a new one, but you can get it yourself. Huh? How, mama, me? I'm such a small boy. How can I get myself? No problem. Here is 200 rupees. The mother put 200 rupees in her 7-year-old son's pocket and said, just walk down to the shop. Whatever the shopkeeper says, say half the price. Okay, Mama, the little boy said, and very excitedly, he went to the shop. Kolanakole, tani tandanatin mayarude. Kolanakole, hey kolanakole, hey kolanakole. His heart was bursting out of his shirt. He was so proud that he was there all by himself. And the shopkeeper was just opening the shutter. The big burly man saw this little boy and said, he's come all alone. He could see no adults were there. He said, yes, beta. Uncle, I came to buy a shirt. No one there, I've come alone. Really? Very good. Come in. And the shopkeeper took him and showed him all of the shirts around. The green and the blue and the black, the checked and the dotted and the floral and all the various prints. And finally the boy said, Uncle, I want that one. White plain shirt. Okay, 100 rupees. 50, the boy said. Huh? The man was quite impressed with him. Such a little boy, not only come alone, also bargaining. Mighty impressed, he said. All right, I will give it to you for 60 rupees. 30. What? That's not how bargaining works. Okay, 50. 25. What? 40 rupees, final. 20. Oh my God. What will I do with 20 rupees? Take the shirt for free. I want 2 shirts. And the boy took 2 shirts, the 200 rupees in his pocket, and went back home really, really proud of his purchase.
Awesome. Super, super, Deepa. And now, audience, how this works, the mesmerizing stories and the way she orates the story. I think that's complete. Okay. So we have, the last question in the interest of time. We have another session coming up. And yeah, thank you, Payal. She's commenting. It's really superb.
Right,
Really
thank you.
appreciate. And
I want to just use a quick minute to say that a story like this, which sounds like silly, nonsense, fun, and everything, also holds a lot of possibility to talk about communication, to talk about mathematics, to talk about parenting, to talk about wisdom of children, courage, so many. Since we spoke in the start about content and message and presentation, yeah, it's how we use the story and where we can take it. Yeah.
So next question, is it morally wrong to make up a story, or to create a moral story? Is it okay to make up a story and pass on a good message.
Okay. It has always been done. All the religions of the world are full of stories like that. They did make up stories to convey certain messages, right? However, I really think we just have to be careful, because I always believe as a parent that it's important. The whole beauty of stories, okay? The whole beauty of stories is that someone is not telling you what to do. Remember, as a child, if somebody said, "Don't touch that," you would just go and touch it, right? So the whole beauty of stories is that they let the other person put themselves in the same shoes of that character and think and arrive at answers. So even if you wish to, perhaps convey some moral, I would say just tell the story and allow for the other person to arrive at their own conclusions. So it's perfectly fine. It's always been done. Making up stories has always been done.
Thanks a lot, Deepa, for joining us on this particular thing. Wish we could spend more time talking about more stories, but we have another session lined up. So, audience, queue up to this, and feel free to connect with Deepa. She is on Instagram, Deepa Kiran Storyteller. You will get her, and do follow her. And I love her live sessions on Instagram. So, thank you.